Imagine you arrive in Moscow in the middle of winter when the temperature outside is around minus 20 degrees Celsius. You wrap yourself in a thick down jacket, wrap yourself in a scarf. The cold wind blows through you, making you shiver. But before them, an old Russian man walked leisurely with his coat open. A girl in a short skirt laughed with her friends. And in the distance, a group of shirtless people jumped into an icy lake as if enjoying the summer. Hundreds of Russians, young and old, stripped down to their swimsuits or shorts and calmly stepped into an icy lake, crossing themselves as they soaked. Some even jokingly splashed water on themselves, as if it were a hot spring, while you shivered in your thick coats. These people seemed completely immune to the cold. This is not a test of courage, but rather the Epiphany ice bath, one of the oldest and most special traditions of Russia. Epiphany is one of the most important holidays of the Russian Orthodox Church, taking place every January 19th. This day commemorates the event of the baptism of Jesus in the river when St. John the Baptist baptized him. According to Orthodox believers, on this day, all water sources in the world become holy, capable of washing away sins and healing diseases. Therefore, for hundreds of years, Russians have had a special tradition. They plunge into icy waters to purify their souls and bodies. But there's a small problem. By mid-January, most of Russia's rivers and lakes freeze over completely, and the temperature outside often drops below minus 20 degrees Celsius. This means that to take an ice bath, people have to cut a large hole in the thick ice, creating a small cross-shaped pool. Then, one by one, they step into the icy water, dip themselves 3 times, and pray as they soak, believing that this ritual will help them wash away their sins and bring them good fortune for the new year. If you think plunging into 0 degrees Celsius water in minus 20 degrees Celsius conditions is unbearable for many Russians, it is an indispensable experience every year. Some people even say they don't feel too cold when they jump in. And interestingly, on extremely cold days, when the air temperature drops below minus 20 or minus 30 degrees Celsius, the water in icy lakes is around 0 degrees Celsius. This means that swimming in icy water is actually warmer than standing outside. However, not everyone can jump in the water without preparation. Before performing this ritual, most Russians will warm up thoroughly, warming up their bodies by running, exercising, and most importantly, not drinking alcohol before entering the water. You might think that only strong young men or Red Army soldiers in the past can do this. But in fact, the Epiphany Festival attracts all levels of society, from children, the elderly, women to politicians. Many children are encouraged to participate by their parents from a very young age. They believe that this will help them stay healthy and have fewer illnesses throughout the year. Elderly people still enjoy taking a dip, believing that it is a way to cure diseases and maintain good health. Russian President Vladimir Putin has also participated in this ice bath ceremony many times as a way to show his connection with the tradition and strong spirit of the Russian people. In officially organized areas, there will be priests to perform a ceremony, reading the Bible before people enter the water. Police and rescue teams are always on duty to ensure safety in case people suffer from heat stroke or faint. What's going on? Why are Russians virtually immune to the cold, while the rest of the world shivers when temperatures drop below 10 degrees Celsius? The first mystery lies in geography. At 17.1 million square kilometers, Russia is the largest country in the world, but much of its territory lies in the icy climate zone. It's estimated that more than 65% of Russia has an average temperature below 0 degrees Celsius in the winter, with places like Siberia where it can drop below minus 60 degrees Celsius. And winters in Russia typically last 5 to 7 months, meaning that enduring the cold is not a choice, but a necessity for survival. Russians have no choice but to adapt to these conditions. And over thousands of years, their bodies have developed special mechanisms to cope with the cold that are also very special. Scientific research shows that Russians have physiological characteristics that help them withstand the cold better than other peoples. Russia is great, and Russians are also tall. Their subcutaneous fat layer is slightly thicker than that of people living in hot climates, which helps them retain heat better. Their circulatory system also has certain adaptations. with blood vessels becoming more flexible to limit heat loss. More importantly, they have a higher proportion of brown fat. Brown fat here is a special type of fat tissue that has the ability to generate heat to keep the body warm. In addition, their metabolism is also faster, helping the body burn calories continuously to produce heat. So while we're freezing in our jackets and boots, Russians can still feel just a little cool like on a cold autumn day. However, the Russians' ability to withstand cold does not only come from genetic factors, but also from a training process from a young age. Russian children are not wrapped in warm blankets and soft mattresses, but have to get used to the cold from a young age. Parents often let their children play outside even when the temperature is below 0 degrees Celsius, believing that this will help increase their resistance. Many families even have the habit of bathing their newborn babies in cold water. And in some Siberian kindergartens, children are even trained to run around in the snow in shorts for a few minutes a day. In Yakutsk, children go to school at minus 40 degrees Celsius and only get a break when the temperature drops below minus 50 degrees Celsius. With such an education, it is no wonder that they grow up to accept the cold as a natural part of life. But Russians don't just endure the cold. They turn it into a way of life and culture. In many countries, winter is a time to hide indoors. But in Russia, winter is a time for crazy activities. One of the oldest traditions, as mentioned, is the Epiphany Ice Bath Festival, which takes place on January 19th every year. Hundreds of thousands of Russians, young and old, plunge into the freezing water of 0 degrees Celsius to perform a purification ritual. It is believed that this helps to wash away sins and improve health. In addition, there are groups of so-called Arctic seals, that is, people who like to swim in winter, still immerse themselves in the ice every day and consider it a way to strengthen their spirit. There's a popular saying in Russia that there is no bad weather, only those who are not dressed warmly enough. While Westerners wear thick down jackets in winter, many Russians still leave their coats open, even walking around in t-shirts, believing that the body will adapt better when it is not too dependent on thick clothes. They also have a special diet to help them cope with the cold. They eat a lot of energy-rich foods such as meat, fish, and hot, calorie-dense soups. Some also believe in another secret weapon, vodka. Although drinking alcohol does not actually help keep the body warm, but actually makes the body lose heat faster. But in Russian culture, a little vodka in the winter always helps to lift the spirit and feel like the temperature is no longer a problem. Not only in everyday life, winter is also Russia's strongest ally in the history of war. Napoleon led 600,000 troops to attack Russia in 1812. But when winter came, the French army was tormented by the feeling of cutting flesh and leading to a heavy defeat. The invasion of Nazi Germany also suffered the same fate when the German army entered Moscow. They were ill-equipped to withstand the cold, while the Red Army was not only accustomed to the cold, but also had tactics suited to winter conditions. As a result, hundreds of thousands of German soldiers froze to death or suffered from frostbite, helping the Red Army turn the tide. So why didn't the Russians feel the cold? The answer lies in the perfect contrast between geography, biology, culture, and history. They are not superhumans, but over thousands of years, their bodies have developed to cope with the harsh winters. Add in their steely spirits, childhood training, and a little bit of cultural madness, and Russians are not only good at enduring the cold, they have made it a necessary part of their lives. If one day you see a Russian barefoot in the snow while you're shivering, don't be surprised that they were born to survive in the cold.